welcome to another episode of Emerald Echo, a Green Lantern podcast, or for the purposes of every time we review this particular show, the Star-Spangled Stargirl After Show. I'm your host, Adam, as always, and with me, as always, is Donnie, the Emerald Enthusiast. Donnie, how are you, my friend?
Hey, what's up, comic book fans? It's the man whose ring runs on fanboy energy, the podcasting machine, the big nerd in green. It is the Emerald Enthusiast, here to talk to you about Stargirl, Season 2, Episode 1, and also the first appearance in 10 years of a live-action Green Lantern.
Now, I was going to allude to that. Some people may be sitting on their computers, angrily wondering, well, are these guys going to cover everything DC? Yes, we are. So,
you betcha.
If you don't like it, the door is somewhere wherever you're sitting. Open it and then leave. But no, I'm kidding. Don't leave. Just grin and bear it and be angry and yell into the void. Who cares? But anyway, no. Most people that enjoy listening to us and watching us would appreciate this. But yeah, we couldn't not cover. I mean, Stargirl would have got covered on this network regardless. We've covered it before. We did the spring break. One-shot issue.
Yes.
When they do Stargirl #1, which still hasn't been solicited for whatever strange reason, but we know it's coming. When they do it, we'll cover it, of course, on DC Comics Chronicles. Where can they find that, Donnie? The DC Comics Chronicles. Where can they find that?
You can find that right here on the Multiverse Musings vidcast, as well as the Multiverse Musings podcast network, available on iTunes and Podbean. Like, subscribe, remember to support us. We would appreciate it.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're going to cover Stargirl, the comic, when it does get going. But it made sense for us to make it part of Emerald Echo because, as Donnie alluded to, this show, Season 2 of Stargirl, features the first appearance of a live-action Green Lantern in a decade.
If you want to know how I feel about it, you can go to Isa Penarejo's Twitter page, where she retweeted my reaction the night that
you're just going to live off that for the rest of the season, aren't you? That one retweet. That's what you're going to do.
I was so happy, and I'm happy that she saw that and understood, at least from my perspective, how Green Lantern fans feel about her portraying a character that so many of us are so passionate about. So
I'm sure she showed the rest of the Stargirl cast and be like, is this how they're all going to get? Like, this guy?
Exactly.
But that would be funny if you became on set like me. It'd be cool.
Yeah.
That was a cool reaction. I loved seeing your reaction there. And I'm glad she took notice. But we'll get to more of Green Lantern, or the Green Lantern portion of the show, when we get there. But, just to sort of give a preamble, because I don't think the vidcast network existed when Season 1 of Stargirl was happening. Or we just
started that this year.
Yeah. So, just a preamble. I think, for my money, and we'll see if this holds up, after next week when Superman and Lois airs its Season 1 finale. But Season 1 of Stargirl, for me, could have been my favorite, is probably my favorite live-action DC show.
It was excellent, yes.
It's superb. So that's where I'm coming from with Season 1 of Stargirl. Give us, your thoughts on where you place Season 1 of Stargirl.
I really loved that show. Season 1, somewhere I would put it probably neck and neck with Superman Season 1, which has also been excellent.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd put them a couple notches below the Flash. But again, I haven't had, I love the JSA, and I did like, the villains that we saw last season. But now, if we're talking about some of more JSA members coming in particular Green Lantern characters, this could very easily, for me, become on par with the brilliance of the Flash and Superman and Lois.
Right. Right. Cool. All right, so let's get right into season 2, episode 1.
Yes. So season 2, episode 1, it starts off with a much different tone than what we were used to with last season. Almost like a horror movie vibe.
It felt very Annabelle, with the doll.
With the doll. And that
Alexa Bliss must have been watching this show with the whole...
I
was watching. Yeah.
I thought about her when we
I
first
think
saw
about Alexa Bliss all the time, but that's neither here nor there. Continue.
When we first saw the doll, that's actually who I thought of. But yeah, obviously that scene, that's Eclipso. And we saw, the darkness that's kind of following the JSA, that's going to be what is being built here is for the villain Eclipso, as well as later on we'll see, a reference to the Injustice Society.
Yeah.
However, that quickly transitions, which I thought was hilarious, from this like dark flashback to kind of the peppy intro for Stargirl with the bright visuals and everything. I love when they do things like that. I just think that's a lot of
contrast.
Fun. Yeah, exactly. So we see in the opening scene with Stargirl that Courtney Whitmore has fully embraced her role as a hero, perhaps to a fault. Yeah. And we see that develop throughout the episode. So whereas her friends are kind of struggling to find the balance and struggling to see why they're needed on a daily basis, she's trying to rally the troops all the time, even when there doesn't seem to be an impending threat.
Yeah, it was interesting because there was no they're on patrol and there's literally no threat. Mm-hmm. So the rest of them are like, look, we can still be the JSA, but we'll do it when a threat arises. Yeah. Now we can kind of go home, take a break.
Right.
And she's like, no, we got to be vigilant because the JSA or the ISA could still be out there. And she's very adamant, and they're kind of like, yeah, call us when there's, we're going home. Call us when there's an actual threat.
Yes. She's overzealous, but obviously she's a character who has a strong sense of responsibility, at least when it comes to being a hero.
Yeah.
Now we see later on that she's let some other aspects of her life kind of slip.
Yeah.
But another interesting thing we see is that later on at 4:00 in the morning, she's going through a bunch of old JSA files, and she mentions a villain that we recently covered here, Perdegaton, as well as Gentleman Ghost.
Yeah.
And so she's kind of, she is obsessed to the point to where she's like, I've got to head off all of these threats before they actually happen.
It's almost like she's inventing a threat.
Yeah.
Like, whereas this guy could pop up.
Yeah. Pat's like, you need to calm down, and first of all, you need to go to bed, and start thinking of life as not just as Stargirl, but as Courtney Whitmore. Yeah. And she even mentions at one point, he's like, you need to think about a career, and she's like, well, I have a career as Stargirl. Well, I don't think that's going to pay the bills.
Yeah, I mean, unless Bruce Wayne shows up and gives you a donation, you're going to need to do something else. But what I liked about this whole plot point is that when you're imbued with something like the Cosmic Staff, mm-hmm. and you're a high schooler, and now the rest of her friends are imbued with these trinkets, amulets, and such that make them the second coming of the JSA.
Right.
While they're in high school, what effect does that have? And we're seeing that effect on all of them. It's showing you if you're a high school and a superhero, a high schooler and a superhero, that's what it would be like.
Yes.
And I like the fact that they went to great pains to show it. So Wildcat, she's still struggling from the choices she made in season 1. We see her, based on the death of
Brainwave.
Yes, Brainwave.
Yeah, I'll have more to say about that later, but yeah.
But the fact that she's attempting to go to confession, or to sit in a church and pray about it because she feels so guilty about it. The new Hour Man is having his own struggles of, of how to deal. Dr. Midnight, she's kind of lost Charlie, as it would be, in a sense, right?
Yeah, she has been. She feels like she's kind of abandoned by everyone because her parents, they've kind of overlooked her. They're kind of wrapped up in their careers. And we also see, not only does Chuck not know her when the goggles activate again, we also see that her parents are on the verge of a divorce.
Right.
And so, you almost want to reach out and hug that poor kid with everything she's going through in this episode.
Right. Yeah. And the interesting thing, like, showing the trials and tribulations that these kids are going through, but also just struggling to balance homework and heroics.
Mm-hmm.
That's something important when you're dealing with teenage superheroes. Whereas, now, I think the Spider-Man comics, when he was in high school, did a fantastic job of this.
Mm-hmm.
The movies have kind of glossed over this aspect of Spider-Man. All of them. As much as I love the first two Spider-Mans. Sure, he's in high school, but what's really his concern in those movies? Mary Jane.
Mm-hmm.
It's the love aspect of it, not the rest of his life that's being focused on. Same with the Amazing Spider-Man. It's man, I want to be with Gwen, I can't be with him. And look, listen, Emma Stone would be my chief concern as well. Because, hold on, wait. Because if anybody didn't know, Emma Stone is on the list. But those movies and then the Disney movies focus on how can I impress Tony Stark? How can I impress Tony Stark? That's what they're focused on. So I mean, they're dealing with a high school superhero, but they're not dealing with the high school aspect so much. Whereas this is, and I like that.
Yes.
I mean, the subtitle of the season is literally called Summer School.
Summer School, yeah.
So I just like the focus they're giving it, is what I mean to say. This is not a crap on Spider-Man show because I like Spider-Man.
Right, as do I. But you also mentioned Our Man. One of the subplots that we see here is that Our Man is hearing these newscasts about a bear going around to the various restaurants in Blue Valley, or they assume that it's a bear. We see some scenes of him out in the woods looking at footprints, and the inference here is that it's actually Solomon Grundy returning.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and
I guarantee you, the local townspeople wouldn't be able to bear it if it was Grundy.
Right. Yeah.
I'm picking up on your humor. I don't know if this is a good thing, but here we are.
Right. You either like the dad jokes here or you find them unbearable.
Yeah.
Anyway, so don't get me started. It'll be like Jungle Cruise all over again.
We're gonna lose so many listeners.
So, well, let's have a little bit. Let's go back and talk about Wildcat / Yolanda.
Yeah.
She actually is dealing with a very weighty subject that we see all through superhero comics. She is responsible, at least at this point, of someone's death, brainwave.
Yeah.
And so she's struggling with that, despite the fact that it's something that you would call, like, in the field, an acceptable kill. She had no choice. But the guilt that she has, is it too great for her to bear? Just because everyone else says, hey, it's okay, you had no other choice, that doesn't mean that she doesn't still have a lot of remorse and a lot of complicated feelings over that.
Yeah.
And so, she is struggling to deal with that. And at the same time, again, it seems to be like, Eclipso or some malignant force that's on her tail. And so that's a really interesting part of the show, is that, it's not just, the kids dealing with their own internal problems. She's got that, but she's got something else complicating things. Yeah. So what did you think of that?
Oh no, I loved it, and because again, like you alluded to, it was in the field. She had no other choice. It was an acceptable scenario. But if you aren't disturbed by that, then wouldn't you be just as bad as the people you're trying to stop?
Yeah, we hear, you hear soldiers and, police officers talk about, when that's, your life for a while, when that's your profession, at some point the guilt becomes great, and some people can deal with it and some people can't. Yeah. And that's, it's a very complicated thing. And for a child, again, a teenager, dealing with that all of a sudden, I like this aspect because that's something that seemed very real to me.
You know what it reminded me of too? It reminded me of, remember how, how Daredevil often will try and reconcile the fact that he's a man of faith, but he's essentially, he's a man of faith, he's a lawyer, but he's also a vigilante who has to beat the living crap out of criminals, and occasionally may go over the line, or straddles that line. It's a lot to deal with, and the church, the confession aspect, gave me some Daredevil vibes. Yeah.
Yes. And I actually really liked that scene too, where she sat down and was just kind of opening up with her emotions, even though she didn't have the words.
Yeah, and then she's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Not today," and she can't do it, and she ends up leaving.
But she was just there, like, letting all those emotions out. She didn't have the words to properly express it, but she still, that's a good aspect of the character, is that her faith is still there. She went for some kind of absolution, some kind of answers, even though she didn't exactly know what that would be.
Yeah.
So back to the events of the show here. We talked about, Courtney's problems. We see that she's let her English and history classes slip, and she has to go to summer school. She also has a run-in with Artemis Croc, which is this going to be a character? Is this, the Young Justice character, the Archer from Young Justice? Will we see that character? Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah. So I just that name,
because isn't there a hockey stick involved?
Yeah. She flipped her with the hockey stick. So.
Which I was like, oh, hockey. It made me happy. And then I thought, oh, hockey. The Leafs lost the first time again. Now I'm pissed off again. But when she did trip Artemis with the hockey stick, I did put my arm up and be like, 2 minutes for tripping, and then I carried on with the show.
So I do want to say, Breck Basinger here, she did an excellent job when the camera went to a close-up shot, and she had to sell the angst of having to go to summer school. She did a great job with her facial expression.
Yeah, and I gotta say the whole cast did a great job at displaying their inner turmoil, the struggle, emotional struggle of what they were each going through. Mm-hmm. That's like weighty material that they all handled very well.
Yes, I thought that was excellent, as I did our first glimpse of Joe McHale as Starman. Well, not as Starman, but that's who he is.
Yeah.
So, I really think that he's someone who I've, become a fan of over the years. I love him on Community, and I just can't wait to see him, coming into the fold. This is where I think this show could, and it's already great. But if they bring more of these original JSA members in, some of these classic Golden Age villains, there is so much that this show could do. I just can't wait to see it all.
Right, and I agree with you, but you also have to maintain a balance of not letting it become about the legacy characters completely. Like they can't come in and take over the show, because
you don't want to supplant what's already been established.
Then it becomes it's less about Stargirl and the new JSA and more about the old JSA.
Right.
Which, if you want to do that, just make an original JSA show. Mm-hmm. Which I wouldn't be opposed to.
No, not at all.
That's like a prequel. They always do spin-offs, but do a prequel series with the actual JSA.
Sure, we could do that. But as we saw with The Flash, you have characters like Jay Garrick and Wally West. They come in periodically, but they don't replace.
But they don't take over the whole show like Iris does. But I digress.
I knew where you were going with that. Poor Iris. Anyway, so another subplot we see here: Pat's new partner at his whatever you call it, his auto repair shop.
Mechanic shop.
Yeah. His he goes into a room where
He's
finds
a nosy bugger.
Yeah, exactly. He is very nosy and very pushy, but overzealous but funny.
Yeah.
I really like that aspect of the character.
If that guy worked for Vince McMahon, he'd be fired. But 3/4 of the people that work for Vince McMahon are being fired. So
yeah, it seems lately that regardless of how good you are, Vince McMahon, if he just gets the notion, he's like, you're fired. So
I'd like to get him to come into the Leafs organization and fire Mitch Marner, but I digress. Anyway.
All right, let's not get derailed here. It'll be the left-handed rant all over again. So
yeah, that was fun.
Okay, so as things come to a close, late one night, Courtney hears a sound. She goes down to check on it, and we see.
Sounds like story time with Donnie. You said late one night.
Story time with the Emerald Enthusiast.
I'm like, should I get a cup of hot chocolate for this, or what's going?
Yeah, put on your onesie. So
yeah.
Do you have a onesie? I'm just kidding. Anyway, so
I want to get a Batman Superman one. That's what I want to get. Just cut it,
If there was a Green Lantern onesie out there big enough for me to wear, I'd wear it. I don't think there is.
And we'd all want pictures to prove it.
It would have to be specially made. So we see a mysterious figure emerge from the darkness holding Alan Scott's lantern.
Yeah. She's taking it.
And exactly. And a battle ensues between Stargirl and this mysterious figure. And of course, we know who this is. This is Issa Penarejo as Jenny Lynn Hayden, a.k.a. Jade Scott. And she identifies herself as Green Lantern's daughter. And I've got to say, my wife said that she wished she'd had a video of me as this was happening.
So do I.
Because as I told you, I had seen some rumors that she actually wasn't on the first episode. She wasn't on the premiere, that it was going to be later on. So I wasn't sure this would happen. And all of a sudden, when I see this scene start to play out, when I saw the lantern, like I was actually standing up, and all of a sudden I started to shake and clench my fists because I'm like, finally.
You were hawking on like Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, it's probably looked something like that. Yeah. But I'm thinking to myself, 10 years. 10 years we've been waiting to see another Green Lantern character. And Jade, one of my favorite characters in all of comics, I was so happy. I was just elated.
Well, it's funny because you know me, Green Lantern is I put him third on my top 5 DC characters, but also I would put him in that position in terms of comics characters in general. But so even for me, I was like, when I saw, even at the beginning of the episode, when you see the power, the lamp, the power battery, if you would, it's more of a lamp than
right.
In this case, with this
railroad lantern, yes.
It's more of a lantern lamp than it is power battery, because Ola and the whole that
right.
As far as we know, unless they've changed things for Stargirl's purposes, that doesn't factor in yet. Anyway.
Yes.
So just seeing it lighting up at the beginning of the episode in the darkness, I was like, ooh, it doesn't take much to get me excited, folks. When it comes to Green Lantern, there's been so little in live action that just the lighting of the lantern is enough to get me, And then when you see her like skulking in the shadows, walking out with it, that gets you pumped. But then when you see the face-off and she's like doing this pose where she's like this, and you see the ring, I'm like, oh my God, this is badass. Yeah. And again, much like I say when we cover wrestling in a wrestling match, what I think was great about this fight and how it was choreographed is that both combatants, both Stargirl and the Cosmic Staff, and Jade and the Lantern get, and pun coming in, pun intended, get their chance to shine.
Right.
Like, neither of them looks like the Brooklyn Brawler here.
Right.
About to do the job or already standing in the ring with no entrance music. Yeah. Like, they both look good. They both come out of it looking strong. And you need to have that because both of these characters are are leads in their own right, I think, and both mystical weapon or both magical mystical, weapons that they're holding are top tier formidable in their own right. So you have to find that balance, and I think the show did.
Yes. And I want to say, I think Green Lantern fans are extremely lucky to have Issa Penarejo, who has a dancing background.
Yeah.
She is very athletic, and you can tell that even
Oh,
from that very short fight.
Oh,
she is an amazing athlete.
Right.
And if you go online and see some of her stuff, it's outstanding. But Jade is a creation of Roy Thomas and Jerry Ordway. She is the daughter of Alan Scott, the sister of Todd Rice, a.k.a. Obsidian. She debuted in All-Star Squadron number 25 in 1983. That's a comic that I have.
The same year I was born. That was a good year, my friends. Very good year. Good vintage, I'll tell you. I'm not biased at all.
I don't, we actually have decided to do a special episode covering the origin of Jade and covering some of her key comic stories. But I will say this, in the comics, she has powers that she inherited first from her mother, a woman named Rose Canton, who had some plant-based powers. So she has that. That's also responsible for the green tint in her skin from the comics.
Okay.
She gets power from her dad, who his battery powered by the Starheart. So she can create constructs and things similar to the Green Lanterns, even though she doesn't need a ring. However, there was a period in her continuity, Volume 3, where she actually did take over as Green Lantern using her ring. I don't know how much of that we're going to get here. Like, with her mother, being, having the personality where she's a villain, the villain being Thorn, and then, giving Jade and Obsidian up for adoption, and Alan doesn't meet them till later on. How much of that is going to be dealt with, I don't know.
It'd be interesting to see the mother come in as a part of the ISA or IS. Yeah.
It could be. I'm wondering, based on the clips that we saw for next week, we saw seemingly maybe the battery explode. I wonder if maybe the battery is going to explode into her, and that's how her skin becomes green. Is the energy infecting her?
Could
be. Yeah.
Could be. Yeah.
But Jade is just she is a really fun character. She is somebody who's been connected with the Green Lantern Corps. Those characters. She was also one of the main characters in a title called Infinity Inc., as well as The Outsiders. She wasn't present in the New 52. She just came back after Doomsday Clock. We saw a number of heroes come back after Doomsday Clock. So we've seen her recently interacting with her father after her father came out as gay. She has just endless storytelling possibilities here. I'm just so happy and so grateful that we get to see this character being presented in live action. I'm so elated. I'm so happy. So
it was just fantastic to see. And most of what we saw was green energy blast. Like, we didn't see a specific construct in this episode, but it still looked pretty, from a visual point of view, it looked pretty badass.
Yeah. Now we did see a construct in the previews. We saw her making kind of a car. Right. I also like the fact here they're not kind of as tight and rigid looking as we saw with the 2011 movie. There's kind of this ethereal aspect to them,
fluid,
which is fitting because, again, the Starheart came from chaos magic as opposed to the super science of the central power battery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. No, sure. What a great way. Yeah, and then,
I only rewound that and played it and watched it about 50 times, I think. So.
And I'm not shocked that you did that at all. It really didn't shock me. And the episode could have ended there, and I would have been happy, but it didn't end there.
No, we see that Dragon King, that she has the Eclipso gem, and she goes into this secret room, and she's looking at candidates for the new.
It goes through her locker.
Through her locker. It's a secret passage. I like that.
I wish I had a secret passage through my locker. It would have been kind of real cool.
That would have been awesome. Yeah, I love that little aspect of the show, and we see that she's kind of weighing candidates for a new Injustice Society.
Yes.
Yeah.
And turns out Stargirl was right to be concerned because
the villains aren't far.
No, they're in her school. Again, she tripped one of them with a hockey stick.
Yeah.
She bumped into the other. She one is the returning son of
Brainwave.
Yes, thank you. And then a shocking candidate turned out to be her stepbrother.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
What's going on there?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? Why is he on the
Right.
Why is he on the list? And where's my copyright infringement? Because that's a list, and we should be able to have that. But anyway,
that's not a Multiverse Wives list, though. That's much different.
But it's a Multiverse ISA member list, so it's kind of.
Yeah.
We are on Earth 2, part of the Multiverse. There's a list. See the connections. I could sue. Actually, I can't because then Jericho would sue me, and it would be a whole thing. So let's not go there. But yeah, no, it's very interesting to see where it's going to go, and why Pat's son is on the list.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very curious. But
yeah, so I guess this is the point in the show where we talk about ratings.
Yeah,
I think it's important to admit your biases here. I would give the show an A rating regardless.
Yeah.
But seeing Jade in live action, I was just so elated that there was. Even had the show been bad, I probably would have given it an A anyway. But I really do legitimately think that this was a perfect way to lay the foundation for season 2.
Yeah. So you're going ahead and giving it an A.
I'm giving it an A+.
Oh, A plus. So the plus is for the Green Lantern stuff. That's what you're saying.
Oh yes.
Okay, fair enough.
For anybody tuning in for the first time, if you can't tell that I like Green Lantern,
yeah. I mean, I'm shocked, really.
I
just want to say, just to point out, I don't have a Stargirl shirt, but so I wore a Wonder Woman shirt. If you can see here.
I like it.
It's
I like it a lot. Yeah.
Kept with the theme of strong women. The whole 9 yards. Had to show support there, but. I just finished saying, yes, I love seeing the Green Lantern content in live action. Yes, I just finished saying he has a prominent place on my list of favorite list of characters. He's third. So I can't necessarily say I have the inherent, bias that Donnie admitted to. Had they brought in Bruce Wayne or Brandon Routh Superman in this, then I would have made the disclaimer that Donnie had to make. So I don't have to make that disclaimer, and I'm still going to give it an A+ because I found nothing bothered me, nothing turned me away, nothing made me say, "Ooh, I would have done that differently." Yeah, it's a perfect start to season 2. And for that reason, I'm giving it an A+.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a wrap up of episode 1. We will definitely be covering the remainder of season 1. But in the meantime, before we come back with new episode reviews, you can continue the discussion about Jade, Stargirl, or anything DC related with Donnie and I on social media. So Donnie, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter as the Emerald Enthusiast. Let's talk comics, let's talk collectibles, let's talk Green Lantern.
Awesome. And if you want to chat with me, you can add Adam_LeafsFan. The show also has its own Twitter handle at MMNPDC. We also have a Facebook page, which is in the description below. I should say the link is in the description below. Click it, ask for permission to join. I'll add you, and we can continue the conversation there. But until next time, remember that Stargirl is forever from the first time she rides the cosmic staff to the last.
To the last.
So long, everybody.
So long, everybody.